We know that Apple provides their own chips for the iPhone, and they can call it whatever they want. Apple began with an A4 chip and upped the number each year, calling it the A5, A6, and occasionally adding the X at the end. But then, they started calling their chips BIONIC, which they still do today. But what exactly is BIONIC? The phrase BIONIC has been associated with being faster and newer. But what does that actually mean? To begin with, the latest and finest iPhone 14 Pro employs Apple's A16 BIONIC chip, which plainly performs well even today. It was initially presented by Apple with the launch of the iPhone 8. And aside from one allusion, the term BIONIC didn't signify much to me at the time. But as it turns out, it's not the same thing. But what was the cause of this change? We need to take a quick look back in history to grasp it because that's what we all want to do. The very first original iPhone had a chip code APL0098, which does not sound promising. Yet all iPhones until the release of the iPhone 4 were fitted with single-core Samsung-manufactured chips, including the very first iPhone. Apple only began calling its chips and manufacturing their own in 2010 with the release of the previously mentioned iPhone 4, and it has continued in this manner each year with the addition of a larger number in the chip's name and more power. Until 2013, when Apple shocked everyone by releasing a 64-bit processor for the first time. It was the A7 dual-core chip built by Apple for the iPhone 5S. The A7 had a new image processor, as well as an area code that secures the enclave, which stores and safeguards data from the fingerprint sensor. Thus, the A7's leap to 64-bit was significant, since it allowed the iPhone to accomplish much more, and the iPhone 5S was the first iPhone to integrate biometric authentication in the form of Touch ID. That is why the chip has to be so sophisticated. Fast forward 3 years, and Apple made another significant jump, releasing the Apple A10 Fusion CPU, the first quad-core chip in an iPhone. It boasted a 40% quicker CPU and a 50% higher graphics performance than the previous Apple A9. The M10 Motion coprocessor is embedded in the A10. It also has a new image processor, faster encoding and decoding support for many new formats, and Motion JPEG, some fairly technical stuff that not many people are interested in. The crucial thing to remember is that, aside from the yearly performance boost, another reason Apple wanted to upgrade their chips so much was the arrival of the iPhone 7 and 7 Plus, with which the A10 Fusion shipped. As you may be aware, the iPhone 7 Plus was the first iPhone to include a dual-lens camera configuration. It was largely used for new exciting portrait shots, but when cameras improved, they required a more powerful chip to drive them, and those who paid attention noticed a new word in the name Fusion. As previously stated, the A10 Fusion is a quad-core processor. It has 2 performance cores and 2 efficiency cores. However, they cannot be used simultaneously. It had to switch whenever necessary, which was amazing because it was a completely new approach for the iPhone to consume energy. When under heavy stress, the device received increased power, but it could easily save battery if heavy performance was not required. As a result, the new design combined all 4 cores. Then, the following year, Apple took another significant step ahead by launching the A11 BIONIC, and this time they had a legitimate reason. It was released as part of the iPhone 8 lineup. While the 8 series wasn't particularly interesting, we also saw the iPhone 10, the all-new design and the replacement of Touch ID with Facial ID. So yes, the Face ID required the additional power, and the A11 features a dedicated neural network hardware that is part of Apple's Neural Engine. This is in charge of handling face detection and ensuring the safety and security of Face ID. With a difference in performance, particularly 25% faster high-performance cores and a 70% better high-efficiency cores, there is another significant distinction, which is known as BIONIC. And the term BIONIC is simply Apple's term for having performance and efficiency cores working together. The ability for all cores to work at the same time was really impressive, which is why this breakthrough needed its own name. That is why the chip is dubbed BIONIC. The iPhone progressed from a single core to a dual core to a quad-core fusion to a quad-core BIONIC that could ultimately employ all 4 cores at the same time. Although the A11 BIONIC chip is no longer manufactured, it was replaced by a more advanced version of the same chip. Therefore, all iPhones released after the iPhone X have a BIONIC chip inside them. This is apparent in technology that has been proven to be trustworthy. It's especially significant for those who purchase used devices. If you want to buy an iPhone with a budget of $100 to $150, for example, the iPhone 8 is far superior to the iPhone 7 due to chip improvements. The BIONIC chip will be considerably more useful to you. The BIONIC processor is responsible for some older iPhones and iPads still feeling quick and fluid even after a couple of years. In terms of iPads, BIONIC chips were previously exclusively seen in iPhones. Apple is recognized for using the same chipsets in its iPads and other products such as the Apple TV. There is, however, no iPad that runs on A11 BIONIC. The next year, in 2018, when Apple debuted the A12 BIONIC chip for the iPhone XS, XS Max, and XR, they also began shipping this processor to iPads. Therefore, the iPad mini 5th generation, iPad Air 3, and iPad 8th generation all include the A12 BIONIC chip. Despite the fact that Apple is renowned for naming almost everything, including things that would be fine without a name, the reason that they termed this chip BIONIC isn't merely for marketing purposes. It's truly a different matter and that the chip works, and it really marked a major impact for chip improvements and future iPhones, and this is exactly why some Apple chips are labeled BIONIC and some older ones aren't.